Ladies and gentlemen, as a local ambassador of the Charles Oliveira fan club right here in Louisiana, I think it's only right for me to give you a little bit of hopium and copium. What's a cam video without a little bit of hopium and copium, especially when it comes to Charles Oliveira? I have him number 2 on my all-time favorite fighters list, right behind Louisiana's own Dustin Poirier. And let me tell you, my fucking heart fell to my ass while I was watching Bilal versus JDM because I knew Bilal was going to lose his fight. And I knew that means Islam's going up. And I know that means it's Charles Oliveira versus Ilia Topuria. I watched MMA Shay, and he lit a fire in me. It's time to step up, be a man, put my big boy pants on, and let you know there's hope. There's hope. I got TJ Love's fights in the back. He always does, whenever there's a big fight, he always does, how does blank beat blank? And it's usually the underdog. How does the underdog beat the champion? You know what I mean? Or how does the champion, who could be the underdog, beat the challenger who's just unstoppable? And we're going to play him in the background, 8 minutes and 48 seconds, so not a long video. And I'm going to chime in every now and then. Real quick, what do we know? Charles Oliveira, long as shit, big as shit. Ilia Topuria has shown that he has some problems with those longer, taller opponents, usually with high kicks and not being able to impose his will. But it always ends the same. And that's with a big, gnarly KO or a submission if you're talking about the regionals. The thing about Charles Oliveira is we've seen a more patient style out of him, and that hurts him sometimes. But we've seen a more style to where he's not willing to just stand in a pocket and just go to war. He's trying to tone down his marauding attributes a bit. And it's tough. You fight patient against Ilia Topuria, well, then he's just going to try to impose his will. You fight reckless against Ilia Topuria, well, he's going to counter you and put you down. So you have to have a balance with Ilia Topuria. Max Holloway showed more of a balance. You know, Volk fought Ilia Topuria very, very, very patiently. You know, jabs, long, moving away, kind of not running, but, you know, avoiding Ilia at all costs, damn near. Ilia just walked him down. Max Holloway was able to trade, was willing to trade with Ilia Topuria and had success. But at the end of the day, it all ended the same. Big, gnarly KOs. So what does Charles have to do different? He has to use that length. He has to use that length. He has to kick the ever-loving fuck out of Ilia Topuria. He has to throw the teeps. He has to throw the knee stomps. Try to end this motherfucker's career. I don't wish that on nobody. But if it has to be done, it has to be done. It's a very malicious game that we play. Quote from John Jones there. But you have to keep range. And whenever you are in close, you're clinching. You're clinching. You're in on body locks. You're jumping his back. You're making things happen. You're scrambling. You do not trade in the pocket with Ilia Topuria. Easier said than done because Ilia is the guy who's going to make you trade. It's very, very interesting. Ilia Topuria, you also can land straight shots. Ilia Topuria likes to roll a lot. He likes to be in the pocket. He likes to counter. He loves his hooks and his overhands. Straight shots always beats hooks and overhands. But the thing is, he'll eat your straight shot to land his overhand or hook. And his overhand or hook comes with very, very devastating consequences. The thing about Ilia, we haven't seen him hurt. We've seen him hurt with head kicks. But as far as in the boxing range, he's so defensively sound. Charles Oliveira keeps those hands high and just lets punches bounce off of his guard. He's not really moving his head, He's hands glued to his eyebrows. So, yeah, he does have a line of defense. But he's just going to let those punches bounce off the guard. And Ilia is a guy who can't get those punches through the guard. We've seen a very, very locked-in Ilia Topuria against Michael Chandler. Yes, Michael Chandler, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I understand. But defensively, his defensive mechanisms, very, very locked in. Not willing to take any damage. But the thing about Charles Oliveira, he got comfortable. You cannot get comfortable with Ilia Topuria. Charles Oliveira dog-walked Michael Chandler on the feet and on the ground for 24 minutes, 23 minutes. But in the fifth, he got very comfortable. And these became this. And that's all it took. And you cannot give Ilia that look, especially when you lack the head movement like Charles Oliveira does with his Muay Thai stance and shoot-to-box style. A little bit of Hopi and Copium. I'm going to let TJ Love's fights, take it away. I'm going to chime in every now and then.
This is how Charles Oliveira beats Ilia Topuria. Here we go. It's finally official. UFC 317 is here, and it's headlined by none other than Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. Granted, The writing was on the wall for this fight anyways. We all knew what was going into this Bilal JDM fight that happened last Saturday, which, by the way, was surprisingly a dog fight and a violent Bilal fight. And with JDM winning, this meant that Islam would move up to fight JDM, and Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira was going to happen at lightweight. And Ilia has opened as a gigantic favorite over the former lightweight champion. I've seen him at around a minus 300 with some books.
Real quick, if there's a guy who's ever been counted out before, against all the odds, who's not supposed to win, if there's a guy to pull that off, it's a guy like Charles Oliveira. I've been here before. I fought Justin Gaethje when everybody was telling me a quitter, and Justin Gaethje's finally about to be a champion. Charles missed weight, but it is what it is. It doesn't matter because it's not like he's going to win anyway, so we're going to get the belt's not going to be vacant. Steamrolls Justin Gaethje. Probably the hardest hitter that Ilia's ever fought in his career, by the way. Steamrolled Justin Gaethje. Gaethje felt like when he got hit, it felt like he put his tongue on a huge-ass car battery. A feeling he's never felt before in the octagon. I've been here before. I fought Dustin Poirier, who's on the hottest streak of his career. I've been here before. Very, very interesting. Let's go.
Books, even opening him as big as a minus 400 favorite, which is insane. Even though I would have Ilia favored here for sure, minus 300 to 400 is ridiculous. So let's see how the apparent giant underdog in Charles Oliveira can try to defeat.
I used to use that microphone. Q2U Samson.
The giant favorite that is Ilia Topuria. And of course, before this begins, this does not mean I have Charles Oliveira winning. Holy shit, every time I make these type of videos where I detail how the underdog wins and obviously the favorite eventually wins, they go back to this video and say how the title didn't age well or my prediction was bad. Dude, suck my balls. This is how the underdog is going to win. All right, the first step in the game plan is to slow down Ilia Topuria's boxing. It's by far his greatest asset, and so far pretty much no one in the UFC has been able to stop Ilia Topuria from walking them down. Max couldn't do it, Bull couldn't do it, Josh Emmett couldn't do it, and definitely Bryce Mitchell couldn't do it. Eventually, he found all of their chins at one point in time. Ilia Topuria is...
And now you're giving him 25 minutes to do it, man. Charles Oliveira has shown, if you get the best and the most defensively sound Charles Oliveira, which is pretty good, and he's just switched on, he's shown that he struggles to do it for 25 minutes, especially if he's being successful. And he's up. And he gets comfortable.
Is a master of stalking, slowly closing the distance, and before his opponents know they're out of position, he kills them right then and there. No warning, no nothing, just a kill shot. Max, despite doing so well in this fight to stay out of that range to prevent himself from being backed up, eventually got caught when he was backed up for maybe less than 30 seconds.
You cannot be on the fence. That's the thing. Ilia's going to put you on the fence. He's going to. Like, it's impossible to fight Ilia Topuria and not be backed up to the fence at least once, twice, 3 times. He's going to put, that's the plan. Do not go back to the fence. And that's a style that Charles loves to fight. He loves to fight. That's Charles' ideal game plan. Take the center. You march him down. You take the center. But we've also seen Charles Oliveira against the fence a lot. Islam Makhachev, Arman Tsarukyan, Dustin Poirier teeing off on him against the fence. Dude, they don't hit like Ilia. When a lot of times when Charles gets dropped, yeah, he's buzzed, he's able to survive. When Ilia hurts people, they don't move. And I'm not trying to sound like Jeremy Stevens, but when he hits people, they don't move. And Ilia is not a guy who's going to be scared to jump on top, even if he does buzz you.
But despite Max getting knocked out, he was doing so damn well and way better than what I remember. I think
Sorry to keep pausing, but Ilia said that he's going to do it in a way where Charles doesn't suffer too much because he likes Charles a lot, and apologies in advance. Can you not see Ilia just rocking the shit out of Charles, dropping him and then jumping on top of him, arm triangling him, or submitting him so he doesn't put him out cold? Oh, my God, dude. That'd be the worst day. That would be the worst day of my life watching sports in general. Dude, I'm putting that up there with the Saints no call against the Rams in the NFC Championship, and I'm dead serious. I cried that day.
Round 2 specifically is the round we should carefully look back at because I think Max found a lot of success at preventing Ilia from setting his feet and throwing, and arguably won this round. I think off the back, throwing kicks, especially that oblique kick, had a lot of success for Max and kept Ilia true. Most boxers keep a lot of weight on their front leg, especially...
He's got to Khalil round, bro. He's got to fuck his knee up. Dude, he's got to make him not even be able to explode or walk. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, he's got to.
Power punchers
He's got to
tend to shift their weight forward, and Max Holloway's team knew this. It was a great kick for Max to throw, and especially in this sequence, caught Ilia off guard as he threw twice in a row. With this kick, Ilia was forced to back up all the way in a straight line back to the center of the octagon. For Charles, I like this kick a lot for him. I don't think I've seen Charles throw it, but he can easily have the same success with that kick, knowing Ilia is going to put a lot of weight on the lead leg. And in general, Charles Oliveira just has a really good low kick. Additionally, I think what Max did really great in this round was just keeping Ilia busy in general, especially with straight punches. Ilia's instinct sometimes is just to try to shoulder roll and move forward, but it's significantly harder to do that with the smaller UFC gloves. That is why in this sequence, Max is able to sneak his 1-2 in because of the miss in timing from Ilia. Straight punches, especially the jab, will 100% be key.
People are underrating Charles Oliveira's punching power in this fight. I'm noticing that a lot. Dude, Charles hits hard as fuck. He was the hardest 155er in the world until Ilia moves up. Now we're going to see Ilia probably is the hardest hitter now, but Charles was the hardest hitter at 155. Like, a lot of people aren't even talking about the fact that Charles could catch Ilia with a straight shot, like Max was catching with these straight shots and hurt Ilia and make something happen. You know what I mean? A lot of people just don't talk about that.
Off of Charles.
And I don't understand it, because Charles is a hard hitter. I know he hasn't had finishes in a while. Actually, he just finished Benil Dariush, was that second to last fight. But, dude, Charles, like, hits like a fucking truck.
Used a lot in this fight to keep Ilia off of him, and the jab was good enough to cause visible damage on Ilia's nose. Again, Ilia Topuria has a tendency just to walk in a straight line, eat some shots to get into position, and land a bomb. Granted, it's pretty much worked every single time, but still, because Ilia stalks and walks in a straight line, that's Charles's cue to pop the jab, throw some low kicks, mix in some oblique kicks, and maybe some teeps to the body. Anything, and I mean anything, to keep Ilia from boxing range is needed just to even survive. So again, he has to keep this at kickboxing range. But most importantly, in this range, he can land a high kick, Ilia Topuria's kryptonite. Ilia has fought a lot of guys that are taller than him, so of course the high kick will always be there for the taller guy.
If Charles Oliveira lands that head kick and hurts Ilia, Charles is finishing the fight. He's gonna submit him.
Famously, Jai Herbert was able to knock down Ilia when Ilia fought
that right there. That's a finish.
But also before the UFC, in his last fight before getting into the promotion, he was dropped early with a head kick. And guess what? Charles has a really good head kick. He even landed it precisely on Benil. I think Charles
head kicks, they hurt you through the guard. That's the thing about his. You can get a hand up and he's still gonna, they'll still hurt you.
That
Charles
high
is a
kick
big fucking
cannot
dude, bro.
just end the fight, but I think the consistent threat of a kick going that high is going to work so well against Ilia. We saw just some of the high kicks keep another power puncher busy in the Ian Gary-Carlos Prates fight. Ian Gary sure was landing that high kick from time to time.
Got to throw a lot of high kicks.
He was mostly just using it to simply keep Prates' hands busy. The threat of the high kick, especially on the shorter guy in Topuria, is going to be very, very effective in my opinion.
That's a finish.
And I do think it can end the fight as well. And as much as I think
it's like a home run shot, a big shot that you got to land. It's not a shot that you can just rely on like a jab or a hook. But that's a finish.
Success on the feet. I would really, really not want him to be here for all too long. Max and Volk are already some of the best strikers the UFC has ever seen, and they both found a lot of success. But again, no one is perfect, and Ilia just needs one mistake to end it all. So for
Charles has showed he'll get laxed and take his eye off the ball, like I've been saying this whole video.
I really think he has to minimize how often he's striking in general, even if he has the tools to be successful on the feet and can stay in kickboxing range. So I like Charles pushing the pace and initiating clinches to stay in at an up-close range, literally any range that isn't in the middle here in boxing. And we haven't seen too much of Ilia in the clinch, but we've seen a lot of Charles Oliveira in this range.
Really good in the clinch. And if Bryce Mitchell could take you down and hold you there, I know Charles can.
Great knees here, elbows, and shit. He can jump on top of your back here. But most importantly, you nullify the best
Doesn't
weapon
take
for
much.
Ilia in this range, which is, of course, boxing. I like this range for Charles Oliveira as he has a lot of tools, and we really haven't seen anyone offensively clinch Ilia. But I'm really interested to see how Ilia Topuria reacts to somebody taking the fight to him. Every single one of his fights have basically been his opponents backing up because Ilia is bringing that pressure and that footwork and eventually knocks them out.
Yeah, and Ilia is a much different fighter on the back foot. Granted, he's not on the back foot long because he doesn't allow himself to be on the back foot. But it really negates what he can do to you when he's moving backwards, or you're making him defend things, or you're making him keep his hands up to block the high kick, or you're making him defend the double leg, or you're making him have to get you off from the clinch because you're trying to take his back and jump on his back. You know what I mean?
Them out. So I'm really interested to see if
Hopium and copium.
Very highly offensive guy like Charles Oliveira will find success moving forward and clinching a lot. Granted, Ilia Topuria
but he's not.
could have.
Charles isn't gonna fight Ilia the way he fought Dustin Poirier, the way he fought Justin Gage. He's just not gonna do it because it's just yeah, it could work for some time, but just being that reckless, spending that much energy, not being technical, not being safe, you can't just get hit by Ilia, go to your back, and then recover and stand back up. Ilia's gonna follow you there, so he's gonna fight more. He's gonna fight closer to the way he fought against Michael Chandler than the way in the second fight than the way he did against Dustin Poirier and Justin Gage.
Have tools here we've never seen, and he has Greco-Roman. But even then, say Ilia suplexes Charles, you're kind of taking Charles to his world here, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting on his back. But how about we put Ilia Topuria on his back? What I don't like about Charles on his back really is that Ilia Topuria still has stupid power from this position for some reason. Ilia Topuria knocked out Ryan Hall with very little range of motion, and I'm sure he can do that to Charles as well. So for Charles Oliveira, I think he becomes a D1 wrestler like he did in the second Michael Chandler fight, get in the clinch, throw some knees, but most importantly, try to immediately put Ilia on his back. It was really the only time Bryce found any success in his fight with Ilia, and granted, it was the end of the round, but Ilia didn't show anything to get back up. If Charles Oliveira takes Ilia to the ground and just constantly threatens submissions, I would be very interested to see how Ilia responds. He could be really great for that matter. I mean, he did start off with a jiu-jitsu base and fought like Charles in his first UFC fight and practically his whole entire career up until that point. But still, I think Charles finds a lot of success here if he can put Ilia on his back. So overall, I think this fight is more
on the
so
ground, I'm
going to
definitely
be
favoring
a
Charles.
grappling
She's so much
match than
bigger.
anything. As much as we want to see a violent clash between Charles and Ilia on the feet, I think Charles has been really, really smart these last couple of fights, especially his fight with Michael Chandler. Though he was able to knock out Michael Chandler in their first fight, and he does have the power to pretty much knock out anybody at lightweight, he's taken things much more smart and is definitely going to grapple when he needs to. He's going to trade much less than when he was champion.
You can't
And
afford
especially
that.
with Ilia
That's a
Topuria
finish.
and the bombs he has
That's
in
a finish.
both hands, I think Charles Oliveira is going to make a great and smart approach in just keeping this a grappling match. And for Ilia Topuria, I'm really interested to see the size and the grappling here at lightweight. He was preparing for Islam Makhachev, who also is a great grappler as well, and probably would have taken a grappling approach. And he always had Charles in the back of his head too, so he's been training probably for a grappling match. So we'll see. This is going to be the first time Ilia Topuria's grappling gets really, really tested against one of the best grapplers in Charles Oliveira. And I do think, despite me probably having Ilia Topuria in this fight, I think Charles Oliveira has a solid chance to get it done. Anyways, what do you guys think about this super fight in Ilia Topuria and
It's going to be fireworks. I'm not even going to be able to commentate it. Straight face, I'm locked in. I'm going to war, guys. I'm going to war. I'm flying out to Sao Paulo in like a week or two. I'm going to be out there for the entirety of the remaining of the training camp. Probably get some rounds in. Yeah. Champion has a name.